I have to be honest. It almost seems pointless to do segments about these two news stories from the end of last week. One from kansascity.com. Video shows 3 police officers apparently join January 6th protests, filing in Kansas case says. I would just like to give a shout out to our good friends over at kansascity.com, NewsGuard certified, of course, for putting that comma, filing in Kansas case says. Yo, there's video of police officers, MPD, these are Metropolitan DC police, inciting people to go, and do more. And that's the point, isn't it? They were not just collecting information or acting as undercover operatives in evidence gathering missions or whatever. They were actively inciting people to commit crimes. And not just kansascity.com, my friends, but I also would like you to see the NewYorkTimes.com. In Proud Boys' January 6th sedition trial, FBI informants abound. I love this. How do they frame it? The unusual number of informants the FBI had in or near their group. This is exactly what everyone's been saying. It's exactly what most of us know. And that's why I say it's almost pointless to make a video like this, but perhaps you can share this with people who don't believe you. I am not saying that there were not regular old Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol or anything like that. I am saying we have numerous news reports showing that government agents were actively involved in the storming of the Capitol. Now, some important context. Many of you know this, I know. Most of you, some of you may not. There are multiple entrances to the Capitol complex, to the Capitol building. And on one side, there was a ton of violence. On another side, there's video of police opening the doors. This resulted in the outright acquittal of one of these January 6th defendants because there's video of the cop waving him in. And he's like, I don't know, man. So what happens is, on one side of the building, you get violence, there's fighting. Now, for the people who came after this, they didn't know what was going on. The problem with these cases that people need to understand, I take you back to Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017, when far left extremists went around rampaging through DC, smashing windows and setting cars on fire. When the police arrested all of these people, I would know. I was in the group that got arrested. After a few hours, got released by a supervisor because I had a press card on me. Yes, I was arrested. People don't seem to understand what arrest means, but I digress. I wasn't processed at the station, wasn't taken downtown, as it were. But when they tried prosecuting these people, these Antifa, they said, you can't prove any one of these Antifa people, far leftists, did anything. You can prove that there was damage, destruction, but you can't prove who did it. Well, therein lies the big difference between the inauguration of Donald Trump and January 6th, which is really funny because what is it like? The Capitol gets stormed on one side of the building, but when Antifa goes around firebombing buildings and cars, it's like, well, you know, a little hyperbolic. Let's say this: you can look up the videos. They set fires on the streets. They set vehicles on fire, smashing windows all over the city, but they weren't inside a building. Here's what happens: those people, no, you can't charge them because you can't prove it. And in fact, they sued, and the city had to pay them. When it came to January 6th defendants, what happens is, yes, some people storm in the building, but there are a lot of people who show up 20, 30 minutes later, like, what's going on? And they walk up following a crowd of people, of which they see no violence. Violence had happened earlier. Now, there was a massive crowd in the front where there was violence. We all know that. And it was bad, and those people should be prosecuted justly. But there was a side of the building where people were just let in by cops. And there are people saying, thank you, officer, thank you. And the cops saying, I don't agree with it, but I respect your rights to come and protest. So meanwhile, when all this is going down, the question is, who was Ray Epps? Why were the barricades torn down? Who tore them down? Who started the storming of the Capitol? Well, there's a guy named Ray Epps, most of you know. Again, some of you may not. Important context before we get into this story. And he's seen telling people to go in the building. And for some reason, he's never been charged, despite the fact he is one of the first people to tear down, to storm the property, the complex, once the barricades come down. He whispers into a guy's ear. The guy pushes the barricade down. He runs in. Not been charged. Let's read this story, and I'll break down for you what Kansas City and the New York Times are saying. But before we get started, my friends, we need your help. Timcast. I have released a new song over at trashhouserecords.com. Click the link in the description below and download Bright Eyes. The last 3 songs that we released have all charted on Billboard, and that is unheard of for musicians. Typically, they release a bunch of songs and maybe one might, if they get lucky. Maybe some of your bands never even charted. We've charted 3 of 3. I'm hoping that we can do the same. If you believe in us, if you like our music especially, buy Bright Eyes at trashhouserecords.com. We got banned from a website called Bandcamp, which is an overly woke music hosting site. So now we're using a different platform that we have set up. I think they're scared. They don't care when we complain about things. They don't care that I'm telling you this stuff about January 6th. They care when we start building culture and succeeding doing it. How are they going to keep us out of the new? Like, think about it this way. We had 3 songs released. All 3 charted on Billboard. One was #1 in sales, in digital sales. And they try not to report on it. Sooner or later, someone's going to be like, hey, are you guys getting something? What's going on with this? Who are these musicians? Tom McDonald, for instance, said keep hitting Billboard and succeeding, and they're not reporting on it. We're going to take over. Parallel economy, building culture, trashhouserecords.com. Support us by buying our song. You name your price, 69 cents, whatever. If we can sell a few thousand of these things per day, and I think we can with your support, we're going to smash the charts, and then we'll go 4 of 4. And we're trying to get to the point where we can prove to people you can succeed working with us. Get rid of these woke labels, work with us. Let's read the news. We got this from kansascity.com. They report 3 police officers appear to be among those chanting "Drain the Swamp" and "Whose House? Our House" as protesters invaded the Capitol on January 6th, the government said in a federal court document filed Friday. The actions were recorded on GoPro video by a Metropolitan Police officer stationed at the Capitol in an evidence-gathering capacity, the document said. The government's filing involves the case of a Kansas man charged with multiple felonies in connection with the Capitol riot. William Pope of Topeka, who is representing himself, has asked the judge to release videos in his case that he says shows undercover Metropolitan Police officers inciting protesters to breach the Capitol on January 6th. The footage from the Metropolitan Police Department electronic surveillance unit captures the officers shouting the words to the effect of "Go, go, 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 and keep going, apparently to the individuals in front of him on the balustrade of the U.S. Capitol's northwest staircase around 2:15 p.m. Other times in these videos, the officers and two other plainclothes officers with him appear to join the crowd around them in various chants to include "Drain the Swamp, USA, USA," and "Whose House? Our House." Now, all that really matters here is "Whose House? Our House" borders on incitement, telling these people it's your house. However, the "go, go, go, keep going," right there is direct incitement from police. You got some guy who doesn't know what's going on and they're saying, "Go, go, go." And he's like, okay. The police told people to do that? That's weird. The government filed the document after U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras ordered prosecutors to respond to reports that other media outlets would be given the same access to more than 40,000 hours of Capitol Police surveillance footage that House Republicans recently gave to Fox News host Tucker Carlson. He then showed dozens of clips on his program downplaying the violence and portraying protesters as mostly peaceful. Tucker Carlson is absolutely correct. Mostly peaceful. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of violence on one side of the building. But for people on the other side of the building who had no idea what was going on, and Tucker's correct about this, there was a permitted rally. You even hear Alex Jones saying, don't go in. They're going to make that the story. Brandon Strzok, who was actually charged over this, even though he never went in the building, said a lot of people don't realize this. He's standing on a staircase where the cops are letting people in, and he has no idea on the other side people are fighting. So then later when he leaves, they're like, "You were involved in this." He's like, "Involved in what? What happened?" He's like, "I didn't see any of that." And that was true for so many people who were let in the building, walking around, taking pictures. They had no idea. Did you know that you can go to the Capitol complex basically any day and just walk in the building? You walk up, you open the door, and they do a security screening, and you can walk around. In fact, in some of these buildings, I don't know about the Capitol building itself, but in the Capitol complex, because we did a couple of shows from Congress in the past couple of weeks with Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz. They got a Subway. They have like a public ice cream thing. You can like walk in and there's a Subway restaurant in the building. And I'm walking down the hallway and I'm like, "You smell it? It smells like Subway." And like, "Oh yeah, Subway's right there." I'm like, "In Congress?" Yes. In Congress, there is a Subway. I think there's a Dunkin' Donuts. There's an area with a bunch of ice cream in the congressional building. It's amazing, isn't it? So you have those things. For a lot of people, they're like, "I don't know, man. There are rules, don't get me wrong. You're not supposed to be there after hours, but buildings close. Last week, the top lawyer for U.S. Capitol Police filed a sworn affidavit saying House Republicans have disregarded the agency's request to examine and approve every January 6th video clip they intended to make public. Thomas DiBiase said he learned through a media report on February 20th that his staff from Carlson's show had granted access to the footage. Of the many snippets played during Carlson's shows on March 6th and 7th, DiBiase said, probably pronouncing that wrong, by the way, I was shown only one clip before it aired. Contreras ordered Capitol Police to file the affidavit after delaying a ruling earlier this month on Pope's request to release the sealed videos. The judge said that before issuing a ruling, he wanted to know more about news reports that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy planned to make the Capitol security footage available to the broader public and to lawyers of defendants charged in the insurrection. The insurrection, they say. The debate over the release, blah, 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 blah. No media organization, we get it. The most important thing is we're finally now seeing video of police, of MPD. This is Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia telling people to keep going, go, go, go. In what context, in what circumstance does that make sense? If they are gathering evidence, they should say nothing. And if they're police officers, in any right, they should be saying, stop, don't. Why are the police telling people to do this? Sorry, man. There's no excuse. Play any game you want. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of liberals being like, they're just trying to fit in and play the part. They can't stop an insurrection. Don't care. If the police are telling people to do it, the police are directly involved in inciting the insurrection. And the news about from the New York Times, I love this. The most recent informant to emerge from the trial is a Texas-based activist who becomes uncommonly close to some of the defendants, their lawyers and relatives. They say the unusual number. Too many of them. Too many informants in the Proud Boys. Who was telling them to do these things? And that's the craziest thing to me. Law enforcement should be stopping this. Plain and simple, just stopping it. If there were informants in the Proud Boys, the only thing they should be permitted to say is, no, don't. That's it. But this is the FBI. This is what they do. They go to some dude and they say something like, do you need the supplies? We'll get it all for you. You can do it. Creating the opportunity. Worse still with the Metropolitan Police, telling people to go, keep going. Imagine if we had undercover law enforcement and they acted as a deterrent force and then later said, these men were discussing plans to commit a crime. We tried to stop them and they said no. Then I'd be like, wow, lock them up. I mean, think about it. You get these stories where the FBI is like hanging out with some guy and they're like, hey, don't you want to do this thing? And the guy's like, yeah, I did. Hey, we can get all the things you need to do. And they go, okay, aha, we got you. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? That's entrapment. I mean, it's not legally entrapment. Entrapment has to be with coercion. People don't understand this. Entrapment would be like if an FBI agent said, if you don't do this, I will do X. Some kind of coercive pressure. But if they say something like, if you want to do X, I'll get you whatever you need, they're creating a circumstance that does not exist. And their argument is, but sooner or later, somebody would. No, I'll tell you this. If there was a guy who said, boy, I really want to do this thing, and the FBI said, hey, man, you really shouldn't do that. And he went, well, I'm going to do it anyway. Then when they arrest him and they show evidence and said, no matter how much we tried to discourage this guy, he was hell bent on doing it. Then I'd be like, well, okay. But that's not what this is. And it's never this way. Now, let me tell you what gets really scary in all of this, right? Aside from the fact that we're getting hard evidence that the government's basically involved in well, I don't know if that's surprising at all because the FBI does this stuff all the time. I'll tell you what really worries me is stuff like this. I see this video, some random account. This is what Project Veritas didn't want you to see when they ousted James O'Keefe. January 6th was a setup, an inside job. Take a listen to darling AOC talking to Pelosi. Listen to Pelosi. This is treason at least. Obviously fake video. But I've seen it shared by a few people. I've seen it pop up. And this is what really has me worried. This is a deep fake video where people keep... So here's the real one. James O'Keefe posted this video where he says, with Tucker's revelations about January 6th and your statements as an NYT reporter last year... Actually, let me show you the James O'Keefe video first. James O'Keefe releases a video of him talking to a reporter. Quote, there were a ton of FBI informants who attacked the Capitol and the left's overreaction in some places were so over the top. They, media, were making too big a deal of January 6th They were making this an organized thing that wasn't. Maybe you'll reconsider speaking on the record to me about this now. Again, stress the point. A reporter for the New York Times said there were tons of FBI informants who attacked the Capitol. Quote, there were a ton of FBI informants who attacked the Capitol. From a New York Times journalist. 3 million views. James O'Keefe posted this video. Let me play it for you. Oh, let me make sure. I always do this with the audio. You guys are probably like, uh-oh, Tim's going to play a video. He's going to have the audio on the wrong channel. Yeah. Here we go.
About January 6th, and I would like your comment for the story. We're launching it tonight. It doesn't look good. It's about January 6th. Quote, it was like me and 2 other colleagues who were there on January 6th outside, and we were just having fun. I know I'm supposed to be traumatized, but like all these colleagues who are in the Capitol building were like, oh my God, it was so scary. I'm like, off.
What do you want me to do?
It's just, I'd like your comment. You're not gonna, you've already commented. You're already on tape.
We're just gonna hit job.
We're gonna do you justice, and if you think I'm giving you a hit job, I'd like you to tell me why. Who are you texting right now?
I'm trying to text other people.
But you knew that you were being spoken to.
And yeah, will I stand by those comments? Absolutely.
You will stand by the comments.
I mean, I don't know what comments. You have to tell me the comments.
I'll show you. It's not a big deal as they're making it. They were making it too big a deal. They're making it this organized thing that it wasn't. There's a tug of war. This is a quote from you. Quote, tug of war at the New York Times between reasonable people and some of the crazy leftist shit, unquote. So would you be willing to sit down with me and speak on the record about this?
No way, man.
Why not?
No way. You know, come on.
There's no way you're willing to speak to me.
You got me in a bar in a social situation. Like, I'll overhear a conversation. And like, look, if you're talking in public, it's fair game.
Okay.
So this is the video that James O'Keefe actually put out in reference to news about FBI informants and things like that. And I want to make sure I stress this. Quote, there were a ton of FBI informants who attacked the Capitol. The left's overreaction in some places were so over the top. Project Veritas captured this. James O'Keefe captured this. And this guy's basically saying they were having fun outside and the FBI informants attacked the Capitol. There's a tug of war in the New York Times between reasonable people and crazier leftists. We understand that internal politics thing. James O'Keefe puts out this video. I think this is fantastic. This is from March 11th, where he sits down with this journalist, all Matt NYT, Matthew Rosenberg. Matthew Rosenberg, look, he's on the record. He's flat out said, if it's in public and overheard, it's fair game. That's what James O'Keefe showed. I think this guy should speak up and speak more and stop letting these people ruin the good name of journalism. But that brings me back to the previous video. And what I find to be actually scary is that someone took this video from James O'Keefe because it was going viral. And I've seen this shared from a few people because it looks like the same video, only it's a total deep fake. It's actually kind of hilarious. I'm not going to play it, but this is what worries me. I believe that the person who made this video is more likely to be a leftist. It's a video where there's fake AOC talking with Biden and I think Pelosi saying like, no one fears us. We need to get on top of this. These people need to be arrested. And Joe Biden being like, let the men handle this Ocasio-Cortez. And it's just complete and utter nonsense. The problem is people are going to believe it. And we're going to have to push through this stuff and fight the fake news that's coming out of AI generated crap. There's a video going viral right now from Lincoln Project. I say going viral, but it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Getting shared by the leftists, where Ron DeSantis is asked where he was on 9/11. He wasn't asked his physical location. He was talking about his career and where he was in his life. And he says, I don't know, I was just, getting out of school. And the Lincoln Project says he doesn't remember where he was on 9/11. They're lying. Of course, context was added by Birdwatch on Twitter that says he was referring to where he was in his life. He went into great detail about where he was physically and what happened after 9/11 and why he then joined the Navy because of it. But this is the point. In the past, they would play this dirty game. They still do, where they would edit you out of context for political points and get away with it. Now they will make fake videos using AI generated voices to lie about who you are. And they don't need to take anything out of context. They will just make the video and they'll do things like, is this real? Did this really happen? And people will fall for it. It's creepy and it's crazy. Let me show you this so I don't know if there's a bigger story here, and this is sort of off topic, but it falls in line with it. This is a tweet from Justine Moore, something wild is happening on the Mid-Journey subreddit. People are telling stories and sharing photos of historic events like the Great Cascadia earthquake that devastated Oregon in 2001. The kicker, it never happened. The images are AI generated. Now, you can still tell the images are AI generated, typically because AI can't make language. If you look at the helmet, there's a picture of a woman wearing a vest standing over rubble, and you can see on her helmet, it's just gibberish. In the next image, it looks like some kind of news reporter standing in front of a massive pile of rubble. Now, of course, the text in the background, you can tell. But as we get into this crazier and crazier AI-generated imagery, in this world of AI-generated imagery, we are going to have to contend with the fact that history will be rewritten and fabricated. You will see videos of Joe Biden. And you know what's funny? If this technology is not in the public sphere, you think the military didn't have this capability 10 years ago? We are entering a period where you don't even know if your politician's a real person. You'll see a video of John Smith and say, listen, we cannot allow this. Have you ever seen him in person? And we're at that point now where the videos can all be fabricated. I'm not saying any politicians are fake AI-generated people. Don't be surprised, though, if we get to a period where that actually happens, where there is no John Smith, but you see him on TV, you see him in interviews, you see him in news clips. People, just regular people, can do this now. And we're seeing these fake videos pop up. It's going to get substantially worse. So right now, as we struggle to understand what happened with January 6th and who are the police that attacked this building and who are the FBI informants that incited or enabled people to do this, you have to contend with the fact that we're entering a period where this will go into court record. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. Little secret. Okay, I got to keep it vague, though. Let's just say I can state definitively it has already happened in a court of law that judges have ruled deep fake images and AI are admissible unless you can prove they're not real. Well, how do you prove a video is not real or audio is not real? If they have a recording of your voice and they present it before a court and you say that's not a real recording, and in the recording, it's a recording of you saying, yeah, I consent to this recording. Yeah, here's the thing. ABC 1, 2, 3. There's already been circumstances where judges have said that audio is allowed. I can't get into great detail, but holy crap. No joke. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then. Don't forget, if you really want to support us, trashhouserecords.com.